Welcome to the Register's Report. My name is John Buckley. I'm the Register of Deeds of Plymouth County. It's great to be here at the local scene for the kickoff of the 2025 year as far as our tapings are concerned. We'll be talking about the recordings in the month of December. And I have a great guest in the second segment of the show, a realtor from William Ravies Real Estate, talking about current activity in the marketplace and where he sees things going into the spring. And we have some of our great Plymouth County history and one example of our Plymouth Colony history. So we'll go right to the deeds. You can see on the screen a bar chart. There were 610 deeds recorded in December. Slightly up from the 605 in November, down from the 689 in October. As we travel into winter, things traditionally slow down. Less people are out there looking for property, less people have property listed. But we did record 10% more in December than last December. Year to date, we're almost exactly the same. Our average sale price jumped up to $682,969, and with the difficulty of high interest rates still, despite what the Federal Reserve's been talking about, high property rates and low inventory, it's a very difficult time in the market for anybody looking to do business in real estate. So the next image you're going to see is the sales. We have 27 communities in Plymouth County, and there were sales all alphabetically all the way from Abington to Whitman. Plymouth and Brockton have the most sales. You can see that year to date last year, 2302 for Plymouth and 1602 for Brockton, but every community had sales. And, we're hoping the market gets a little boost as we go forward. The number of mortgages have increased. There were 1,150 mortgages recorded in December, higher than the 1,134 in November. And year to date, they were up 4%. So people are taking advantage of the rates such as they are to refinance their properties, not as much as they would if the rates got back into the fives. And we always track foreclosure issues since the meltdown in 2008. And thankfully, foreclosure deeds and foreclosure notices are very low. There were only 9 foreclosure deeds for all of Plymouth County in December, less than the 12 in November, up 13% from the 8 in December of last year. And it is very low since the COVID crisis. A lot of the lending companies have gone very slow on taking back properties. A foreclosure deed is when a property is taken back by the lender, usually for non-payment of the property, of the mortgage. And foreclosure notices, which is the next item you see in the bar chart, has also been very, very low. You can see 35 foreclosure notices in December compared to the 33 in November, and a little bit of a bump over the years, but still very low traditionally. If anybody finds themselves in difficulty, I strongly advise you not to wait, but to reach out to a federal housing counselor as soon as you can, and you can possibly get some kind of modification. The next image you're going to see is of foreclosure and notices across the communities, the 27 communities. Plymouth County, you see a lot of zeros there, which tells the story that lenders really aren't aggressively going after foreclosure deeds and foreclosure notices. I always want to highlight there are a lot of people concerned these days about fraud, and if there's any fraud in our records, it usually happens amongst family members, sad to say. But if you want to protect yourself, we offer a free fraud alert on the registry website. Go to PlymouthDeeds.org, go to resources, go to fraud alert, and put in your email and your information. And anything that gets recorded against your name, you will get notified. Now, if your name is John Smith, you may get more notifications, but you can check whether it's your property and you can take some action sooner rather than later and try to keep your property from getting into a state of disarray. I have a great guest coming on in the second segment of the show, Justin Dolan, again, who's a realtor for William Ravis Real Estate. He'll be talking about the current real estate market. So we'll see you in the next segment. Welcome back to the Registered Report. My name is John Buckley. I'm the Register of Deeds of Plymouth County. In this segment of the show, we do something educational in nature. We've had surveyors, commercial real estate brokers, home inspectors, a lot of people involved in the real estate community, but our most direct people on the ground are our local realtor community. And I have a great guest today, a repeat guest, Justin Dolan of William Ravis Real Estate. Welcome back, Justin.
Thanks, John. Thanks for having me.
So thank you for coming on the show. Why don't we start by telling our viewers a little bit how you got yourself as a realtor into the real estate community?
Absolutely. So the one thing that kind of propelled me into real estate was that my father is now the second generation of a family business of ours that started with my grandfather, and we do all interior remodeling, kitchens and bathrooms and flooring and basically anything interior. And I ended up getting a back injury some years ago, and I was like, how can I utilize all of this housing knowledge and just go into a different field? And that's kind of what propelled me into real estate and just doing the sales side of it.
Right.
But now with all that knowledge, I'm able to help people that want to do, fixes in their homes, whether it's they need a plumber or an electrician, or they want to do some countertops. I'm able to give them all those resources and knowledge from me.
Right. But as far as your position as a realtor, how was last year for you?
So last year was actually the best year of my career, which I'm so happy about. Like every business, you have your ups and downs, and growing a great business always takes time. And last year, I had a phenomenal year. I'm so glad that I got to help so many people last year. I will say that, even with the changes in real estate, the changes in the laws, we have a new president, coming in now. There's still people that'll always be buying and selling their homes because people always have a need, to either upsize or downsize or relocate.
So as we make the turn into 2025, this is my first show of the year here. We're really always trying to look forward and trying to see where we're going. We still have some winter months ahead of us.
Yeah.
And we have high interest rates, relatively high interest rates from many years ago, fairly low inventory, and prices are high. And the importance of a realtor helping people out is extraordinary important.
I agree. I think right now there definitely is still, especially even in Plymouth County, as of today, there are less homes listed for sale than even this time last year. However, the one thing that I am so happy to see right now is that in the price ranges between 350,000 and 600,000, those like starter home price ranges, there's actually more homes for sale than last year at this
Really
time.
interesting.
There's also between about 750,000 and anywhere above that, there's more homes for sale than last year.
Okay.
The only areas we're seeing less homes is below that, like 300,000 price
Okay.
range. So I am happy to see that we're seeing a little bit more, but the one thing that I will bring up that I think is super important is if you are a buyer looking to buy a home right now, you should speak to your agent and make sure that they do off-market deals. And what I mean by off-market deals is that there are homes that never go on the market, like Zillow or Realtor.com. They're never even publicized. And these transactions do occur, and even almost a third of my own business are deals that never go online.
Interesting. So if a person out there viewing this show was going to try to get into ownership of a home, what would you advise them to be doing right now?
I think the best place to start is always meeting with a real estate agent and make sure they really want to have a sit down meeting with you to go over the process and their team that they have and all of their resources. Because the first thing they're going to need is to get pre approved with a mortgage broker to find out what price range they can afford up to and what they're comfortable with per month for a monthly payment. So your agent's going to be able to connect you with some great mortgage contacts, and that's where we can kind of get everything started.
Yeah, I will say, having been doing this over the years, the knowledge that people have when they start out is so much greater than it used to be because so much is available over the internet.
That is so true. I will say buyers are so smart right now. Even a lot of my own clients are like, oh, we've already connected with financial advisors or mortgage brokers. We've spoken to a couple of different agents. So they are like super smart, figuring out like they already know so much about the down payment programs. They're very smart with everything that's available for them for resources online. I agree.
And in preparation, they should be looking at their credit reports.
Yes, credit is going to be a big, big thing, especially with what they get for an interest rate. So, if the better credit that you have, the better interest rate you most likely will get. However, if you have a low credit score that's in like the 630 to 650, you still can get a mortgage. And there's a great program that's called FHA. And those are for like first home buyers or people that don't have the best credit. So even if you don't have great credit, don't be afraid of jumping into, the market looking for a home. We just got to get you connected with the right resources.
And if you are a potential seller, and I know you represent buyers and sellers,
Yes.
what would you recommend somebody to do right now, sitting at home, watching this show in the middle of a snowy winter so far? A little bit of snow,
Yes,
not
a
so much
little
as we've
bit.
had historically.
Right. So at least we're getting a little bit of snow. I personally,
Yeah,
I love the winter.
yeah.
The one thing that I think I really would suggest to sellers right now, if they're thinking about selling in the near future, is contacting a local agent. Because even for me, I have clients that don't sell right away and they sell 3 or 6 months after they initially meet with me.
Mhm.
But what I'm able to do is build a plan with them and show them the roadmap of how we can get to the point where we will be able to sell their home and help them locate to wherever they're looking to go to next.
So let's talk about the marketplace
Mm.
going forward. I mean, obviously, we just got through the holidays and we're in January. What do you see um, for the prospects going through January, February, and March?
So it's very interesting. Me myself, I felt like in the fall before the election occurred, I felt like the market kind of dipped down a little bit. But as soon as the election was over, more people started to come out in groves, I felt like, with buyers and even sellers.
Mm.
So things are still somewhat competitive. There are some homes sitting on the market if they are overpriced. But for the most part, homes are getting multiple offers still. So even for me, I have a listing coming up very soon next week. And I advised her, don't wait until spring. There are so many buyers still out there right now, and homes are still very competitive. And if you don't have to wait, sell now and take advantage of the great market that we're in.
Right. I think that's all good advice. So, what have you learned? Changes have there been over the last few years and how people approach the whole buying and selling process?
Yeah, there really has been a lot of changes, especially over the course of 2024. There were some changes with laws.
Hmm.
One of those being that if you are a buyer that wants to work with an agent, prior to the laws that change in August, you could, as an agent, just go and show your clients properties, and you didn't have to have any sort of contract in place.
Hmm.
As of August, we now have to have any buyer that we have that wants to look at any properties, we have to have them sign a contract with us that we're going to be their agent. That's one of the things that has recently changed. With listings, not much has changed legally with that. I think the one thing that has changed is how agents market listings and how there's a lot of pre-listing marketing that is starting to set some agents apart from some other agents that only market.
Can you explain that a little more? Because I'm not really following.
Yeah, so pre-listing marketing is when we start to market someone's home weeks before it actually goes on the market.
Okay.
That kind of has set me apart from a lot of different agents because a lot of agents will wait till they post it online and then start doing the marketing. Doing all this pre-listing marketing weeks prior gets other people to know about the home and already creates that buzz so that by the time we list it on the market and we do these open houses, it's as busy as it could be right away.
Hmm. So, where do you see us going forward into the spring in 2025? I know it was a big change in terms of compensation packages from 20 at the end of 24. Where do you see the whole marketplace going right now for realtors?
So for realtors, I think it's a very interesting space right now. We are starting to have more conversations with our buyers about compensation and how some homes we may not get compensated for. But I will say about 99% of the homes listed for sale and the sellers selling their homes, they are still offering compensation to a buyer's agent,
Mhm.
mainly because they know they want to still get the most amount of buyers that they
Mhm.
can. And compensating means more agents are going to want to bring their buyers to that
Mhm.
home.
I definitely agree with that.
Even though legally, you're not allowed to steer people away from a home that doesn't have compensation, there could be some agents that still do so, even though it's not the right thing to do.
So going forward into the spring, any advice for people out there looking to make decisions?
Yes, I think anyone that's looking to do something in the next few months coming into spring should talk to an agent now, especially people looking to sell, because as we go into spring and the warmer weather, more people will want to sell. And we want to get your home on the market where you're not competing with other homes. So if you're thinking about selling, talk to someone as soon as you can. And with buyers, I also suggest talk to someone as soon as you can so that you can make that plan
Mm.
so that we know, when are you looking to make this goal happen? Is it within just a few months or into the summer so that we can help you plan for your future?
Well, we all know that real estate is one of the few tools that allow you to build your wealth in a good way. And I think it's been very frustrating for a lot of people that are paying rent for all these years that have wanted to get into the ownership market and haven't been able to do so.
That's a big problem I think we're running into is that there are so many people that have been renting for so long that they just want to get out of that and start building wealth. And that's where, talking to an agent and maybe getting them just into their first stepping stone of a property that they can start building wealth in is so key. And that's where connecting with an agent can make the difference so that they can get that not only achieve that goal of home ownership, but they can also start building wealth and possibly even generational wealth.
So I'm going to let you make a little pitch to those people that are on the sidelines that have been frustrated for years of not getting into the marketplace and tell them the importance of it.
It is so important to eventually be a homeowner. The main reason why is if we look back at all of the previous years, there are so many generations where their biggest investment in their whole life or their biggest asset, when they're into their retirement years, becomes their home. And that's where their wealth is basically stored. So if you can become a homeowner, sooner rather than later, you can start building that wealth even sooner.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Always great to
Thank
see
you,
you and have
John.
you on the show. Welcome back to the Register's Report. Again, my name is John Buckley. It's always great to be here at the local scene. I want to thank my great guest, Justin Dolan, for the job he did in describing what is going on in the real estate market right now. We all know it's winter, and winter slows things down, but I think his confidence that things are going to pick up in the spring is confidence for all of us. In this segment of the show, we always do something lighter in nature. We do some of our Plymouth County records and then go into one of our Plymouth Colony records. So this Plymouth County record, there's a fellow by the name of Grover Cleveland, who was a president of the United States. He had actually been the mayor of Buffalo when he was elected the first time, but he loved the outdoors, loved to hunt and fish, and he was hunting and fishing a lot down in the Manamet section of Plymouth, and he bought property near the Idlewild Hotel in Manamet Bluffs. He began serving his first term as the 22nd President of the United States, and then he had a very controversial loss to Benjamin Harrison, in part because various people were campaigning against his lifestyle. In between terms, he purchased a parcel to build a summer cottage. Later, he was returned to office. He is the only president to win back-to-back, not to win back-to-back, but to win, to lose, and then be reelected again, up until President-elect Trump, who will be sworn in next week at the time of the show. So history repeats itself a lot, as we know. But after his second term, Grover Cleveland bought a house in Buzzards Bay over the canal, and he is remembered for a lot of the things he did while president. The next one you're going to see is Daniel Webster. Daniel Webster, we're talking about the political season. He was born in New Hampshire. He established a law practice in Boston. He had been a congressman in New Hampshire, and he was an orator. He spoke at the Plymouth Colony celebration in 1920, I believe. And he was well known for his activities, and his home was in the town of Marshfield. He was appointed Secretary of State by President Harrison. We just talked about President Harrison, and then reelected to the Senate again in 1845, and then reappointed Secretary of State by President Fillmore in 1850, where he served until his death in 1852. He's remembered for his skill as a pre-Civil War era senator, trying to keep the country out of a civil war, and he was so esteemed that he was named one of the 5 most outstanding members in a program years ago. Property shows a portion of his purchase from the 2 largest estates in Marshfield at those times, property owned by the Thomas and the Winslow companies. And then Our last county record, we're talking again about politics this time, with the president being sworn in next week. The last Plymouth County official to be elected to Congress was a fellow by the name of Hastings Keith. Now, Hastings Keith was from West Bridgewater, and he began his political career in the Massachusetts State Senate, and then he was elected to Congress in 1958, representing almost all of Plymouth County, except Brockton, the Cape, and the Islands. His proudest achievements was the sponsorship of a bill creating the Cape Cod National Seashore. And he was a congressman that was there during a cranberry scare. And back in 1959, there was a rumor spread that cranberries caused cancer. And he led a study and issued a report that showed that was false. And if it hadn't been for him, our cranberry industry might have not been as strong as it is today. He was a big, strong person in historic preservation and in public pension reform and the New England fishing industry. There is a building in his name located in downtown New Bedford as a tribute to him on behalf of the city of New Bedford. So in our first and last colonial record of this show is a colonial record for 1833, and it was about a person who had an estate. And in his estate, he had multiple wives, multiple children, and he awarded money to everybody through the estate. Some of his children got money, but then there were indentured servants going forward. So different times in 1633 than they are today, but clearly probate activity was important even then to pass on assets of your family to other family members. So I want to thank the folks here at the local scene for producing this show with me. As we go into the new year, I wish everyone a happy and healthy new year. And we'll be coming back in February with more information. But be safe, protect your property. For most people, your real estate is your most valuable asset. We'll do the best we can to maintain your title, and we'll see you next month.